moving on doesn't seem to be an easy task, but it should have been, isn't it? So everyone might have an idea of the story, The Fox and the Grapes, in which a fox sees some yummy grapes hanging high on the vine. The fox tries to reach them but cannot. Feeling upset, the fox says, "Those grapes are probably sour anyway," and walks away, even though it really wanted them. And the moral of the story says, it is easy to scorn what you cannot get, which adds to my belief that society never wanted people to move on. If the fox was able to convince itself that it did not want the grapes anymore by any reason, be it by thinking to be sour, it was for its own peace of mind. Why mock the fox for its failure? It's not that it did not try. What do you want it to do when it doesn't get it? Should it constantly think that it could do better and mourn over its shortcomings and feel inferior and incompetent? No, right? It somehow made itself believe that the grapes might be sour and let it be, I will try something else within my reach or capability, so that it could move on and not starve itself to death just because it did not get it. And this is something praiseworthy. Our minds are conditioned to run for perfection till we burn out, and it keeps haunting us till we get it, like a struck gramophone, and remains as a part of an unfulfilled desire if one eventually doesn't get it despite sincere efforts. This sometimes gets passed on to the next generation by creating a bias from the very beginning of the process. Therefore, the moral should have been, move on, you might get better opportunities. Or, know your strengths and choose your struggle. Or maybe you are meant for something else. Why cry over your shortcomings? Or you may fail despite your dedicated efforts and it's all okay. Or could also be, not all efforts lead to a definite favorable result. People would go to the extent of saying that the fox was not hungry enough, otherwise it could have gotten it by any means. I think if the story has a single character, then it should be told in its own frame of reference. If at all a third party is witnessing the scene, probably they should be helping the fox get the grapes rather than judging it, which brings into light an instructive moral to society. Help when you see others struggle, or just mind your own business. Stories written from a third-person perspective and children told not to think about what others would say, such a hypocritical society we live in. And moreover, the grapes just look delicious from the outside. And who knows, they could have been really sour inside. This makes way for another lesson that outer lucrative appearance, even if sought after, shouldn't dishearten us when not achieved. Also, the story doesn't tell that the fox left because it saw something more attractive than the grapes, which points out that we don't need something else to hold on in order to leave the current affair, which is in contrast to today's belief, where people either feel miserable when empty or there is no scope to be empty at any given point of time in the first place, thereby expecting people to be engaged and dependent at any cost. So if there is anything to be learned from the fox, it has been its cool ability to move on. And that's all for the video. I would like to thank my closest friend for this write-up and agreeing to post it on behalf of him. We'll meet you in the next write-up. Until then, take care and thank you for supporting us.